Oh dear. I was starting like that, alright?
It's how I feel, John. It's how I feel. Did we actually get up in the middle of the night for a 0-0?
I think we did. I'm questioning a few life choices myself, Hamish. That was interesting to see. Well, to see a team from the English Premier League travel 10,500 miles across the world to park the bus with 10 men behind the ball in a meaningless friendly to lift the Sydney Super Cup dramatically on penalties was something to behold. And we're daft enough to have watched it, and we're daft enough to have stayed up to now to do this live show for everyone, Hamish.
Imagine you were an Everton fan who got up for that. I suppose they had the laughter of the penalty shootout. I guess there'll be a lot of people tuning into this later on in the day at normal hours as far as we're concerned who maybe won't see the game. So we'll kind of do our best to actually talk them through what happened. I thought it was an interesting game. You've already touched on it, the approach from Everton, very interesting. Celtic were the dominant team in that match as far as possession, territory, chances. Everton were kind of kept to counter-attacks as far as I'm concerned, and Celtic with the team pressing throughout the match. We couldn't find a goal. We did have big chances. Abada, Kyogo probably were the main two culprits for missing opportunities. And then when you go to penalties, you all know it's over. I guess in the grand scheme of things, the penalty shootout doesn't matter. I guess in the grand scheme of things, the match doesn't matter. I guess in the grand scheme of things, life doesn't matter, John, when you're feeling like this at this time in the morning. Take it away.
I mean, this is what I just tweeted, that this might send me into an existential crisis. It seems to be, that's the road we're going down already. Listen, it was, I don't think you can take too much away from the game. I do think Celtic dominated large portions of the match. Everton were trying to hit us on the counter-attack. A couple of Celtic players played all right. I thought Anthony Ralston was really good on the right flank. Especially in the first half as well, just kind of trying to get stuck in and get us moving a little bit because it was so slow. The pitch quality was abysmal too. The whole match, Hamish, the whole match had massive vibes of USA 94 World Cup. I know we're in World Cup season and I've got World Cup fever, but the whole thing gave me the vibe of World Cup 94 right down to the shootout and Giakoumakis' shocking, glaring miss over the bar. But the pitch was slow. The match was slow. The picture quality was all fuzzy and like out itself. And that's really what reminded me, alongside the added frustration of getting flashbacks to our Champions League group stage where we just seemed to miss chance after chance in front of goal with Abada's late on probably being the worst of them, but Kyogo's not been much better.
Yeah, Tom actually getting in touch saying reminded me of the Champions League campaign. There was bits of that certainly in terms of the fact that we created opportunities, couldn't take them. I think you're right to pick out Anthony Ralston. I mean, he doesn't do friendlies, does he? He was getting stuck right in and really offered a lot of quality. In fact, I think it was his pass that opened up the chance that Kyogo missed. So I was impressed with him. I thought O'Reilly was good. Hatate tries things, doesn't he? And when it comes off, it looks great. You can tell he's just quality at this level. And in general, I thought we controlled the game. Just that lack of real quality in the final third, whether that be finishing, final ball, even decision making. There was a couple of ones where we had a player over, and Giakoumakis had one late on and he shot over the bar, and just a shooting in general, it was either over the bar or it was straight to the goalkeeper. But I thought in general it was a decent enough, maybe a good performance from Celtic in terms of the way we played, and I think there's plenty to work with going forward. And I think in general I've quite enjoyed this Aussie trip, as much as the games maybe haven't panned out the way we'd have hoped. We've only scored one goal. It's been decent. I think it's been better than pre-season friendlies. I think there's been more to the games than that, and I think the atmosphere has been good in the stadium as well. I think 41,000, over 41,000, which is a pretty good crowd, I would say.
That's a decent enough crowd. I mean, to be honest, it's 6:10 in the morning. I think the only mode I have at this time in the morning is a mode of cynicism, so I'm not quite as optimistic about all this as you. I think in general the trip's been alright. Like, it's been money in the bank. the squad have had the chance to kind of bond for the week and be in and around each other, which is always good. You usually only get that in pre-season. I believe everyone's going off to have a little bit of a break now. I think Ange is going to Melbourne to, catch up with some friends and family. And then I think it'll be about 10 days or so. I think the squad will meet back up and head off to Portugal for another week's training, which will be good for them to spend more time together ahead of the second part of the season. I think we've got a friendly against Rennes, the French team, at some point in Portugal. So there's a lot ahead that, I think this break will be good for us overall. I think the team have earned, a break from everything really. They can go off and do what they want. Jota can go on another 10-day world tour. We'll see what happens there. But, it was disappointing that we couldn't put the game away today, because I do felt in that second half especially we created the chances to win the game. But it is what it is, and the penalty shootout, you just knew that we just knew the penalty shootout was going to end the way it was. We were never going to win that penalty shootout in a million years.
Yeah, I mean, it was a friendly today, but do we read much into the kind of same patterns forming maybe from the Champions League campaign? The fact that we couldn't, put the ball in the net and miss those opportunities, and then the penalties. I know we stuck away two pretty well, Forrest and Abada, but I mean those first two penalties were awful, and you kind of had the feeling they were going to miss. Certainly with Hatate, I just had a real feeling he was going to miss for some reason. So I mean, is that coupled with the finishing a concern? How do we get out of this going into it's basically Europe next season?
I don't really know what the answer is. I think I'm not going to take anything. I'm not going to make any grand statements about what we've seen over the last two games. But I do think, obviously, this season has been a theme of the season that we're not taking the chances that we're creating. So I'm not really sure what the answer is there. I'm not sure if we need to bring in a different third option in attack.
Aaron Black saying it proves that we need a striker.
Well, I mean, there's an argument for that. I get that. Maybe add someone else into the mix. But like Ange just said before, like to buy someone who's clinical at the elite level is like going to cost us money that maybe we don't have. So we'd need to get someone who's perhaps a little bit younger to perhaps go back to the 19, 20-year-old market and get someone who is going to improve to a level, rather than, the 26, 27-year-olds we've got now. But it's an interesting one. I do think we might be in the market for another attacker in January. So. Or the summer, so we'll see what comes up from that.
Any other players you want to pick out from either of the two games? I thought Jens, back in today had a decent enough game. Joe Hart seemed to be enjoying himself with Pau. He was joking, maybe if he'd tried to save a penalty that would have been good. He actually, when he saved, was an incredible save, but he just when someone's stepping up against him, he has this incredible habit of diving the other way from whatever way the player puts it. But that save he made was great. Was it with anyone else? Anything else?
I'm not gonna leap to grand statements with the players because I don't think anyone stood out enough to really impress. I just thought Ralston looked the most committed. He looked like he'd just come out of Rocky montage, and Hatate has a lovely touch. I think I'd get up at 3:30 in the morning to watch Hatate do keepy ups in the park. Yeah. So at least I was entertained.
Vata was good. Dylan mentioning Vata. That skill was lovely. Yeah,
he had a wee impact. Made a wee bit of direct attacking play that kind of livened us up in the closing stages. So I have no issues with the young players getting minutes. I think they got a bigger chunk of time on the pitch on Thursday. And I think I'm hoping to see more of that. I'm hoping maybe he can be one of the ones that tries to bridge the gap between our youths and into the first team, as I said the other day. Whether that happens remains to be seen. I mean, it might be, as I said, I don't think we're going to see a rush of youngsters into this team. But if we see maybe one or two before the end of the season getting more regular minutes, that might be good. I think Vata is probably the most likely of everyone to do that. So, I'd be excited to see that happen.
A couple of more things. The challenge from the Everton player in the first half seemed a bit over the top for a friendly.
That was honestly shocking. Some of their tackles in that first half were pretty industrial. At one point I was questioning whether Derek McInnes was the Everton manager, which was their style of play and the way they were going about the game. But no, it's Frank Lampard, and I hope someone's broken the news to Frank Lampard that he didn't get any points for that game because he seemed to be playing for one. But I know I'm getting a bit delirious here, but in all seriousness, Celtic will move on from this, take a break, and get into the actually important stuff after the break is what we're all caring about. In December, when we travel to Pittodrie, I think that's our first game, isn't it, Pittodrie?
Yeah, it is. How did you find out that there was a penalty shootout tonight? Because Celtic TV didn't have a clue.
I just got all sources in all the right places, Hamish. In all seriousness, believe it or not, the stadium that the game is played in, I'm sure it's not an actual sentient building that runs a Twitter account, but the stadium and the game is played in follows me on Twitter, and I follow the stadium, and the stadium tweeted that the penalty was going to a penalty shootout if it remained the draw. So that's how I knew.
Why is a stadium following you on Twitter?
The Accor Stadium, Barack Obama, and a handful of other people.
Barack Obama?
Yeah, of course. Never seen that before. That's genuine. You can go and
Big
look at
Celtic fan.
Big Celtic fan, loves Ange.
Amazing. Right. Anything else? Back to bed at this stage?
Back to bed. I also got a couple of things to say, a couple of bits of housekeeping. First of all, massive apologies to Karim Benzema for ruining his World Cup campaign by both of us tipping him for top goal scorer and then him picking up an injury and training the next day that rules him out for the entire tournament. Nice one, Karim. Sorry about that. Hope you forgive us. And secondly, shout out to all the people who are doing the Celtic sleep out at Celtic Park tonight for the Celtic Foundation, raising money for the Christmas appeal. I actually had a few people saying they'd be tuning into this after the game, watching it. So if you're there at Celtic Park and lying in the cold, if this doesn't send you to sleep, then nothing else will.
Indeed, and well done everyone who's firing on. Nearly 500.
That's amazing.
Live.
Honestly,
this is a hardcore, John. See how we get the League Cup last 16 games at Celtic Park when the hardcore turn out. This is a 67 hail hardcore. Liam, Aaron, another Liam, Belly. I'm not reading everyone's name. Mark, Jamie, Jake. Thank you. You are the hardcore. Forget the rest of them. The rest of them are sleeping at the moment. We're having a party.
Does this mean we're going to get beat by Greenock Morton after extra time?
Perhaps. I'm starting to waffle, mate. So I think we'll just head. I've made better life decisions than staying up. Well, not even staying up, getting up, which is even worse for a 0-0 draw, friendly draw with Everton. But hey ho, we move on.
It's a good laugh, isn't it? That's my approach to this whole thing. You know what? I knew I was always going to be watching the game, and when we knew we were both going to be watching it, so we decided, why don't we just hop on a video after it? It'll be a good laugh, do something a bit different. I don't think anyone else was doing this, so it's a place for people to go chat about the match and chat in the comments below. So please do that if that's your thing. I am genuinely away back to bed for a wee sleep before getting up later. So thanks everyone.
So am I. World Cup starts later today, so we've got that to look forward to. We will be back. We're having a day off tomorrow, and we'll be back on Tuesday chatting about whatever is happening Celtic-wise. But no real Celtic matches to come for a wee while, but we've plenty to chat about in the meantime. Right, we're going to head off. Thanks everyone for joining us. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll speak to you soon.